Over 4 billion years have passed since Earth was born, a young world stabilizing in the vast universe. Now we journey back through the depths of time to the dawn when life first prepared to rise. Endless rains poured down, cooling the fiery crust and carving the first oceans. From swirling steam emerged a calm sea, the cradle of future life. The layers of stone preserve Earth's hidden diary, each stratum a page of deep history. From silence emerges a name, the Paleozoic, the era when animals would claim the seas. Sunlight pierced the ancient waters, scattering beams across a silent seabed. In these shallow seas, the first actors of evolution began their story. Shadows crawled across the sand-segmented bodies, stirring the silt. The Trilobites had arrived, armored pioneers of the Cambrian seas. 5 forms would shape the destiny of life: trilobite, shell worm, sea scorpion, and fish. Together, they would mark the first great steps of animal evolution. From simple mounds of microbes grew reefs alive with new energy. The ocean floor transformed, preparing to host creatures of astonishing design. A sudden burst of forms filled the seas with innovation and diversity. The Cambrian explosion changed life forever, a spark of endless possibility. On the Ordovician seafloor, forests of crinoids swayed in the current. Here, the first jawless fishes began their quiet reign. Beneath the surface, worms tunneled through the sediment, reshaping the ocean bed. These silent engineers recycled life-keeping ecosystems in balance. Within the compound eye of a trilobite shone the first sophisticated vision on Earth. Through countless tiny lenses, it watched a world newly alive with motion. The mollusks discovered strength and softness, wrapping their bodies in armor of stone. Each shell was both a shield and a symbol of survival. From the shadows, the sea scorpion advanced, paddles stirring the sand. It was a hunter, a terror of the Paleozoic seas. Among the currents swam a simple fish, jawless yet determined. From creatures like these, the entire lineage of vertebrates would descend. Continents drifted, seas opened and closed, and the Earth reshaped its stage. Upon this restless planet, life learned to adapt and endure. Spines, shells, bristles, claws, and gills, fragments of evolution's puzzle. Each detail whispered a clue about the future of life. Light flooded the ancient sea, a dawn unlike any before. The Paleozoic had begun, and life would never be the same. Time narrows. The Trilobite's form burns bright in the flow of history. Our story now begins with the armored sentinels of the Cambrian deep. 500 million years ago, the Cambrian dawn revealed a restless ocean world. Here, animal life was ready to take its very first steps. From volcanic shores, the camera dives into turquoise seas alive with light. This was the cradle where early creatures would soon emerge. Sunbeams pierced the surface, scattering across rippled sand. It was a silent stage waiting for the arrival of its first performers. In the distance, a segmented shadow scuttled across the seabed. The Trilobites had arrived, armored pioneers of a new world. Tiny footprints traced delicate patterns across the seafloor. Each mark was a signature of life carving itself into history. The Trilobite's body was built of 3 armored lobes, tough yet flexible. This design gave protection and mobility, a balance few creatures achieved. Its compound eyes glistened with hundreds of lenses. These were among the earliest advanced eyes ever evolved. Beneath its shield, rows of legs paddled in synchronized rhythm. Every movement turned the seafloor into its hunting ground. Some trilobites were no bigger than a grain of rice, others stretched 2 feet long. Such diversity made them masters of every corner of the ancient sea. Like modern crabs, trilobites shed their armor to grow. Their abandoned shells became ghostly reminders scattered across the sand. They grazed on algae clinging to ancient rocks. In doing so, they tended the ocean's first meadows. Crowds of trilobites swarmed over decaying matter. They were the cleanup crew of the Cambrian seas. Some plowed through soft sediment, leaving winding trails. These feeding paths are still etched in fossilized stone today. Shadows from predators drifted overhead, sending trilobites into stillness. Survival here meant vigilance against every passing shape. When danger struck, many burrowed beneath the sand. The seafloor itself became their fortress. They grazed peacefully among sponge gardens and coral-like reefs. Trilobites linked primary producers to hungry predators above. Jawless fishes drifted past, ignoring the armored wanderers. Each species found its own niche in this growing ecosystem. Sea scorpions lunged with swift precision, for trilobites' escape was the only chance at survival. In death, trilobite bodies became food for worms and smaller scavengers. Even in silence, they nourished the cycle of life. Trilobites were both hunter and hunted. They became vital threads in the fabric of Cambrian life. Entire seafloors shimmered with thousands of trilobites crawling in unison. At their peak, they were among the most successful animals ever. Some species bore long defensive spines. Evolution experimented boldly with form and function. Others carried elongated tails fanned like ancient rudders. Every shape told a story of adaptation. Tiny species scuttled beside giants nearly 70 centimeters long. Scale itself was no barrier to their success. From reef to deep sea, trilobites occupied every possible niche. They were a living tide across Paleozoic oceans. From trilobites would come the blueprints for future arthropods. Their legacy still lives in crabs, insects, and lobsters today. The segmented body of trilobites was endlessly versatile. It inspired countless descendants across evolutionary time. Even modern beetles echo their ancient stride. Each motion is a whisper from the Cambrian past. A glowing tree of life links trilobite to shrimp and dragonfly. All carry the mark of these ancient pioneers. Fossils reveal them frozen in stone yet still alive in lineage. The trilobite is gone, but its design endures. Splitting ancient rock reveals their armored remains. The fossils are snapshots of a world 500 million years old. A careful brush uncovers the imprint of a perfect trilobite. Stone preserves what flesh could not. Even their crystalline eyes remain etched in mineral detail. They allow us to gaze through the vision of deep time. In museums, rows of fossils gleam under soft light. Each one is a page torn from Earth's ancient diary. On the seafloor, living trilobites crawl. Then in a heartbeat, the scene fades into stone. The last trilobite slips into murky waters, fading from view. Extinction claimed them, but not their memory. A camera tilt reveals rays of light breaking through the waves. Life always finds a way to rise again. A fossil dissolves into the starry sky, a bridge between Earth and cosmos. They remind us that life's story is universal. Images of trilobites grazing, molting, and fleeing predators flicker in montage. Each moment is a fragment of their long-lost world. Finally, a lone fossil rests eternal in stone. A photograph carved by time, the last testament of the trilobite. 500 million years ago, the first mollusks appeared in shallow seas. Their soft bodies would one day shape entire ecosystems. A tiny snail-like ancestor slid slowly across the seabed. Even the smallest forms marked the dawn of a new lineage. Clusters of bivalves nestled in sand, opening and closing in rhythm. They were simple, but already building the strategy of survival. A nautilus-like mollusk drifted gracefully with its delicate tentacles. It was a glimpse of the cephalopod giants yet to come. Across algae-covered stones, early mollusks grazed quietly. Together they turned bare rock into living gardens. Their shells grew layer by layer, spirals of calcium and strength. This armor was one of evolution's greatest inventions. Under the light shell surfaces shimmered like jewels. Each was a fortress hiding delicate life inside. When danger loomed, the clams snapped shut in an instant. Armor meant survival in seas full of hunters. Golden rays danced across a field of shells. The seabed glittered with an army of quiet defenders. A mollusk withdrew completely, leaving only its hard shell visible. The body was soft, but the shell was unyielding. Empty shells scattered the seafloor remnants of ancient lives. Even in death, they offered shelter for smaller creatures. The spiral shell glowed like a living emblem of innovation. Calcium armor was a key that opened new evolutionary doors. Anchored to rock, bivalves filtered particles from the passing current. Each one kept the ancient waters clearer and richer. Close siphons pumped rhythmically, drawing food from the water. They were silent engineers of ocean health. Small fish swam peacefully among grazing mollusks. These soft-bodied pioneers were harmless neighbors of the reef. When a mollusk died, worms and trilobites consumed its remains. Nothing was wasted in nature's ancient cycle. Dozens of bivalves spread across the seabed like a living carpet. Together they formed one of the first true communities. As mollusks grazed, algae vanished, leaving rocks clean. Their quiet labor shaped entire underwater landscapes. A predator struck, but the mollusk slammed its shell tight. This simple act often meant the difference between life and death. A trilobite fed on exposed flesh of an unguarded mollusk. Even armor could fail when timing was lost. Schools of fish darted past mollusk beds. Some paused to snatch a bite of soft tissue. A broken shell drifted in the current, a trace of attack. Predators left their signature in shattered remains. From above, dark shadows circled over mollusks below. They were always a target in the ancient food chain. A mollusk clamped shut, stirring clouds of sediment. Defensive silence was its only reply to danger. A nautilus-like mollusk jetted forward with bursts of water. Mobility became a weapon as well as an escape. tentacles curled gracefully, sensing the world around them. These were the first hints of cephalopod intelligence. The small-shelled mollusk dissolved into a larger cephalopod form. Evolution was reshaping softness into power. Giant squid-like ancestors swam past reefs' shadows, dominating the sea. From fragile grazers came future rulers of the ocean. Side by side, the nautilus and modern squid reveal their kinship. The soft-body's story stretched from Cambrian to present day. Primitive cephalopods pulsed with faint color changes on their skin. The first sparks of camouflage had begun to appear. Fields of mollusks glimmered under evening light. Their shells were lanterns of survival, glowing softly. A clam opened and closed slowly with the tide. Its rhythm echoed the heartbeat of ancient oceans. An ancient shell dissolved into a modern seashell on a beach. Across time, form and beauty remained unchanged. A fossilized shell embedded in rock faded into a living mollusk. Past and present touched in a single image. A lone spiral shell rested on the seabed beams falling from above. It was a symbol of quiet endurance. At last, a mollusk retracted softly into its protective shell. Strength lay not in force, but in resilience and grace. 500 million years ago, the Cambrian seafloor came alive with wriggling forms. These were Polychaetes' silent pioneers shaping the marine world. From hidden burrows, they slowly emerged, bristles catching the light. Their presence marked a new step in complexity beneath the waves. Across the rippled seabed, dozens of worms crept in constant motion. Together, they created a living carpet beneath the ancient oceans. Each bristle shimmered as the worm undulated across the sand. These tiny structures were tools for both swimming and defense. Some glided smoothly through open water bodies, rippling with grace. Even then, they explored every corner of the seafloor environment. Their bodies were divided into repeating muscular segments. This design gave them both strength and flexibility. Bristles along their sides paddled like countless tiny oars. With them, the worms could swim, dig, and defend themselves. Each ripple of muscle sent waves of motion down the body. This rhythmic power carried them across the ancient seabed. At the head, delicate antennae sensed the surrounding world. These were the first tools of awareness in the Cambrian Sea. Polychaetes varied in size from barely visible threads to larger forms. Diversity was already their strength in the competitive ocean. They fed on decomposing matter buried within the sand. By cleaning the seafloor, they recycled life into new energy. Tunnels etched the seabed as worms pushed forward through the silt. These winding paths remain preserved in fossils today. Particles of sediment moved visibly through their simple digestive tubes. Their bodies were living filters for the ocean floor. Clusters of worms gathered around decaying carcasses. They transformed death into nourishment, but not nourishment for the ecosystem. Burrow openings dotted the seabed like scattered stars. Each hole was a sign of unseen life working tirelessly below. As they moved, clouds of silt rose gently into the water. This constant stirring renewed nutrients for countless other species. Fish swam above while worms labored quietly beneath. Two worlds coexisted, linked by invisible cycles of energy. Trilobites crawled alongside worms across the ancient seabed. Together, they wove the fabric of Cambrian ecosystems. In cross-section, worms aerated the sediment as they tunneled. This hidden engineering kept the ocean floor alive with oxygen. From every burrow, Polychaetes emerged and vanished again. Their constant activity shaped the very landscape of the seabed. Inside their bodies, a primitive nerve cord ran the length of each segment. It was the beginning of nervous systems found in future animals. Through their translucent skin, a complete digestive tube could be seen. This design laid the foundation for complex digestion to come. In the flow of time, Polychaetes transformed into modern annelid worms. Their basic design proved so effective, it still survives today. Side by side, a Cambrian worm and a modern earthworm reveal their kinship. Across 500 million years, their lineage endured unchanged. The crawling worm dissolved into the silhouette of later animals. Its body plan became the blueprint for evolution's next chapters. A single polychaete retreated into its burrow as the light dimmed. Even in hiding, its presence shaped the ocean around it. From above, the seabed rippled with subtle worm movement. Life's quiet rhythm kept the ecosystem in balance. A fossil imprint of a worm emerged from ancient stone. The mark was proof of work done in silence long ago. Golden beams filtered through silt, turning particles into glitter. It was the poetry of small lives illuminating the ocean. Finally, the seabed rested calm, marked only by gentle ripples. The silent engineers had completed their task, unseen yet essential. In the Silurian seas, dark shapes patrolled the sandy floor. These were Eurypterids, ancient hunters destined for dominance. Armored bodies crawled slowly across the seabed. Their presence marked the rise of the ocean's first true predators. Deep claw marks scored the sand where they had passed. Every track was a warning, etched into the seafloor. Several Eurypterids moved together, their shadows sweeping the reef. They were an army of hunters unmatched in their time. From the dim light, a massive form emerged with spiked claws. The sea scorpion had arrived and the ocean belonged to it. Some Eurypterids stretched more than 2.5 meters in length. These giants dwarfed nearly every other creature of their age. Their claws opened wide, stirring the sand beneath them. They were tools of capture precision built for the hunt. With paddle-like legs, they swam swiftly and gracefully. Speed gave them the edge over slower Cambrian survivors. A trilobite crept nearby, tiny compared to the giant beside it. The contrast revealed just how far predators had evolved. From above, one Eurypterid cast a massive shadow on the seafloor. It was the unmistakable outline of dominance. With a sudden burst, the predator lunged toward a jawless fish. No creature in the Silurian seas was safe from its strike. Claws snapped shut around struggling prey. The sea scorpion's grip meant certain death. A trilobite scrambled desperately as a vast shadow passed above. To live, it had to escape the hunter's reach. Caught in its claws, a trilobite was crushed with ease. Even armored bodies could not withstand its power. Eurypterids surged forward in pursuit paddles, driving them ahead. Their speed made the seas a battlefield of fear. Across the seafloor, Eurypterids stalked like apex predators. They ruled their world with unmatched ferocity. The carcass of a fish became a banquet for several hunters. They left nothing but bones in their wake. As one entered, trilobites scattered in all directions. Even the smallest movement sent waves of panic through the reef. A young Eurypterid was driven off by a much larger rival. Even predators had to fight for their place in the hierarchy. Golden beams revealed the Eurypterid's armored form in striking detail. It was the very image of power beneath the ancient sea. Their claws slowly dissolved into the form of modern scorpions. The family bond was clear across hundreds of millions of years. Beside them, the silhouette of a spider revealed a shared ancestry. The land's future hunters were born in the sea. Their exoskeleton gleamed under the filtered sunlight. It was a design strong enough to outlast ages. A glowing tree of life showed Eurypterids at the root. From them branched the insects, arachnids, and countless others. The fossil of a sea scorpion faded into outlines of modern arthropods. Its legacy was written in every crawling creature alive today. A silhouette drifted through beams of golden light. It was a final glimpse of the ocean's deadliest hunter. The last sea scorpion crawled slowly across the seabed. Its age of dominance was drawing to a close. Splitting stone revealed the fossil of a mighty Eurypterid. Time had frozen its form in perfect detail. Under soft light, the fossil gleamed within a museum display. It told the story of predators long vanished. At last, the fossil glowed faintly, then faded into darkness. The sea scorpions were gone, but their legend endures. In the Ordovician seas, new schools of strange jawless fish drifted in silence. They were the first vertebrates, fragile, yet full of promise. One Agnathan glided slowly above the rippled sand. Its soft presence hinted at the birth of an entirely new lineage. From above, groups of these fish wove between ancient reefs. Together, they explored a world still ruled by invertebrates. Sunlight filtered through the water, outlining their slender forms. It was a quiet dawn for the future of vertebrate life. Along the seabed, the jawless fish swam with gentle undulations. They were pioneers carving the first vertebrate paths through the ocean. Their eel-like bodies rippled smoothly through the currents. This simple design was the foundation of vertebrate motion. A round, jawless mouth opened like a suction cup. It was primitive yet effective for survival. Beneath translucent skin, faint muscle waves flowed down the body. Each contraction powered their steady glide. Rows of small gill slits opened and closed in rhythm. With every breath, they drew strength from the ocean. Several jawless fish swam together in loose groups. Even in their simplicity, they showed the beginnings of social behavior. One fish clung to a rock, scraping nutrients from its surface. This was how they fed in a world without jaws. Another pressed its round mouth against the sand, sucking organic matter. They recycled the debris of life into energy for the future. Gliding close to the seabed, they filtered tiny particles from the water. Their methods were simple, but enough to endure. Jawless fish swam calmly alongside trilobites. Two very different worlds shared the same ocean floor. Groups gathered around a decomposing carcass, feeding together. Even the first vertebrates were part of the cycle of death and renewal. Predators approached cautiously wary of this new body plan. The vertebrate spine was a quiet revolution beneath the waves. A faint nerve cord ran the length of its body. This was the earliest spark of the complex nervous systems to come. In time, these jawless fish would give rise to jawed hunters. Evolution's greatest weapons were still waiting to appear. Side by side, the ancient Agnatha and a modern fish reveal their kinship. 500 million years apart, they remain bound by design. The glowing silhouette of jawless fish dissolved into amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. Every vertebrate today carries their ancient legacy. They swam toward the coastlines, tracing paths to shallow water. The journey to land had quietly begun. Fins slowly morphed into primitive limbs in the march of time. These subtle changes prepared life for its leap onto land. Early amphibians emerged from the water, struggling onto the shore. It was the first breath of a new world beyond the sea. From amphibians came reptiles, then mammals that roamed the land. All were children of the jawless pioneers. A great tree of life shows the Agnatha at its roots. From them branch every fish, bird, and mammal, including us. A single jawless fish swam slowly in golden light. It was humble, yet history would flow from its form. Schools of Agnatha faded into the distance, swallowed by time. Their role was complete, their legacy eternal. A fossil imprint revealed their body in ancient stone. The mark was a memory of the first vertebrate step. Under soft light, their fossil glowed in a museum display. It told the story of beginnings older than imagination. At last, the fossil dissolved into the outline of a human figure. From jawless fish to humankind, the journey was complete. The trilobite crawled once more across the sand, armored and enduring. It was the sentinel of the Cambrian, a symbol of beginnings. A mollusk shell gleamed softly under the ancient sunlight. From fragility came resilience, a lesson written in calcium. Bristles shimmered as the Polychaete tunneled through the seabed. These quiet engineers kept the ocean's balance alive. A giant eurypterid prowled across the seafloor, claws outstretched. It was the terror of its time, nature's first apex predator. Jawless fish glided calmly through the Ordovician seas. Humble in form, yet they carried the seed of every vertebrate to come. Fossils of 5 pioneers lay side by side in ancient stone. Each imprint a memory, together telling the story of life's dawn. The living forms slowly faded into their fossil imprints. Time preserved them as guardians of deep history. A wall of fossils glowed under soft museum lights. They were relics, yet also mirrors of our own past. On one side, fossils lay still. On the other, modern creatures moved. Their legacy lived on in crabs, squidworms, scorpions, and fish. Golden beams of light turned drifting silt into glittering dust. It was the poetry of deep time, a reminder of eternity. The oceans of Cambrian and Ordovician faded slowly into darkness. An age had ended, but its story endured. A single spiral shell rested quietly beneath golden light. It was a symbol of softness and strength, side by side. A trilobite fossil dissolved into the silhouette of humankind. From them to us, the chain of life had never broken. The earth turned in silence, blue oceans, shimmering in the night sky. This planet was the cradle and life, its endless journey. At last, a fossil glowed faintly before fading into black. The story of the Paleozoic closed, but the saga of life continued.